My father gave the family business to my lazy brother instead of me. A month later, he almost killed a client with an allergy. And now my father begs me to come back and fix everything. A little more than a month ago, I, 28 years old, arranged a party for my father in case of retirement. He left the position of manager in our family restaurant, which he managed for almost his entire life. Now he is 62, and he told us that he is too tired and wants to pass the business on to the next generation. I, stupidly, assumed that he meant me, because I dedicated the last 5 years of my life to this restaurant. My family owns a network of Italian restaurants, and we also have 2 other establishments in the city. One is managed by my uncle, and the other by his daughter. However, it is our restaurant that is the most popular, and my father is its sole owner. By the way, my uncle is not my father's biological brother. For context, it all started when my grandfather opened the first restaurant, and from there, the whole business started. Our restaurant is the very first establishment that my grandfather opened with my grandmother and managed for many years until his father inherited it. Then the business expanded, and we opened 2 new restaurants in other areas of the city. And then my uncle got involved. He quit his job and started managing one of the new restaurants. When we opened the second one, his daughter became its manager. Thus, the business has always remained in the family. When my father announced his retirement a few weeks before the party, I was sure that he would hand over the management to me. My uncle could not claim this business, since he was about the same age as my father, maybe a couple of years younger, and he was going to retire in a couple of years. His daughter ran a new restaurant for only 2 years, which is much less than my experience. I have been working in the family business for the last 5 years, starting from the age of 23. I left my corporate job to work with my father because I hoped to inherit the family business and bring it to a new level of success. I considered myself the most logical candidate for this role. My uncle was about to retire, my cousin was too inexperienced, and only I remained. My father never said directly that he would hand over the business to me, and it was my mistake, and I did not require any guarantees. We did not register anything officially. I was just sure that I would be the new manager. However, on the day of his farewell party, he threw me a surprise, announced that the business would be handed over to my spoiled younger brother. I have 2 brothers, the eldest and the youngest. The eldest, Charles, 34 years old, was never interested in the restaurant business and chose medicine. He is a surgeon. The youngest, Derek, 26 years old, is not interested in anything at all and does nothing all day long. He is a good-for-nothing, and no one in the family loves him. I do not care that he does nothing and has not succeeded in anything, but his attitude is already a problem. He has not achieved absolutely anything in life, but he behaves as if he deserves all the best. This is primarily the fault of our parents. If I or Charles try to make the younger brother understand how they immediately stop us, saying that he needs support so that he finally finds his calling and does not turn into a parasite that will live at the expense of his parents for the rest of his life. A few years ago, he graduated from college, and since then, he has been fired from at least 5 jobs. He did not linger anywhere due to his terrible character. I don't know where he got such self-confidence, but he behaves as if he is on the same level with God himself, and no one has the right to criticize him. We have to make up with this, because he is our family. But in real life, no one will tolerate such behavior, especially his employers. Therefore, it is not surprising that he is kicked out of every new job after a couple of months. He has no special skills, and in previous places, he was satisfied to work with his father on his connections. He still can't do anything on his own. He is just a huge problem, but he doesn't even realize it. The last 2 years after he was fired from his last job, he just sat at home and lived at the expense of his parents. The worst thing about this is that he doesn't even feel shame or awkwardness, and this is terribly annoying because his parents don't do anything about it, but only fake it for him. This is especially unfair because Charles and I were constantly pushed to success. I don't want to sound ungrateful. We are both arranged in life, but it's still unpleasant to see how they are so condescending to Derek. In general, he is a real spoiled brat, and I can't stand it. As a child, we were good friends, but everything has changed since high school. And now I absolutely don't get along with Derek. In addition, he has no experience in business, and he has no idea how everything works here. So it was a shock for everyone when his father announced that he was in charge of the business. His father announced his retirement a couple of months before the party. All the employees and the whole family knew about it. As a person who has been in the restaurant with his right hand for the last 5 years, I naturally expected that I would be in charge after he left. We never discussed it directly, and I really regret it. I just perceived it as a given, and maybe that was my mistake. Although in several conversations, my father mentioned that after leaving, he would like me to do certain things, and I perceived it as a sign. Since he is talking about my future duties, it means that he is clearly going to leave the business to me. I couldn't even think that he could do otherwise. I trusted my father. He never gave me a reason to think otherwise. Yes, he always treated Derek in a special way, but it doesn't mean that he treated me badly. He always loved and respected me, both as a daughter and as an employee. So when he announced his decision to leave, I organized a farewell party for him, without even thinking that he had not yet announced the name of the successor. It was obvious to me. And so the party day comes, and he says that he is in charge of Derek. I was shocked, and not only me, everyone present was in complete bewilderment, from the employees to our mother. No one expected this. Everyone was sure that it would be me. I worked in this restaurant for 5 years, bringing everything to perfection. And after 5 years of hard work, Derek gets the business? It just doesn't fit in my head. I realized this only at the moment when my father called Derek to himself, and he, with a self-contented smile, took his appointment. At that moment, I just couldn't stand it and ran out of the restaurant in tears. It was unbearably painful. A few minutes later, my father came to me to explain. I was furious, but I still decided to listen to him. And to be honest, his arguments were as stupid as the decision itself. He said that he himself understands that Derek is a hopeless slacker. For 2 years, he was idle at home, and my father tried to force him to find a job, but he just didn't do anything. Therefore, he thought that if he was put in a situation where he would have to take responsibility, for example, run a restaurant, it would make him change. My father hoped that since now was his own business, he would treat him differently, work better and more seriously, or at least stop sitting at home doing nothing. But the most humiliating thing is that he asked me to stay in the restaurant and actually continue to do the same thing that I did for him, but now for Derek. In fact, he wanted me to be a real manager, and Derek was just the nominal head. It was a spit in the face. I was offered to become a nanny for a person who had no idea how to run a business while I had long proven my competence. I told my father that he had 2 options. Either he cancels his decision and gives the restaurant to me, or he loses me forever. We had a serious fight. He said that I behave selfishly and don't think about my brother's future. I replied that he doesn't think about my future. As a result, I just broke all ties with him. He refused to change his mind, and I wasn't going to work for Derek. After that, I never came to the restaurant again. It was my last day there. A month passed, and I never stepped on the threshold of this place. I continue to communicate with my mother and Charles, but we never discussed the restaurant. They know how they are doing there, but they understand that for me, this is a painful topic and do not start a conversation. Until recently, I didn't even know what was going on in the restaurant. After that fight, I stopped communicating with my father, and I didn't talk to Derek anyway, so nothing changed in this regard. I started applying for other jobs after leaving the restaurant. I had some savings, and I decided that until I find something suitable, I will live on them. I was even going to go on a trip next week, but now I'm not sure what will happen, because maybe I'll have to go back to the restaurant. As I predicted, my brother screwed up big time. He had no idea how to manage the restaurant, but for some reason, my father decided that the best strategy was to give him complete freedom of action so that he could feel trust and confidence. Obviously, Derek's feelings were more important than family business and common sense. From the moment he started managing the restaurant, he made a bunch of irresponsible and stupid financial decisions. But a real disaster happened when he decided to save on ingredients. Now, because of this, he has huge problems. Our restaurant also serves vegans. We have a separate vegan menu, and we strictly make sure that the products do not contact non-vegan for ethical reasons. We even have a separate zone in the kitchen for such dishes. But Derek decided to remove this zone to free up space in the kitchen, and then began to substitute vegan products to reduce costs. It was only a matter of time when one of the guests would expose him, and a couple of days ago it happened. Derek ordered the kitchen staff to use regular cow's milk instead of more expensive soy milk when it is possible. This is incredibly dangerous. This idiot forgot that some people adhere to veganism for a reason, and they may be allergic to dairy products. I think you already guessed what happened. One client ordered a dessert with milk and specifically asked to replace the milk with soy or another alternative. If someone from the old staff was cooking the dishes, they would have ignored Derek's instructions and did as the client asked. But unfortunately, Derek hired a new, inexperienced worker who was strictly ordered to make sure that no one violated his orders. It seems that Derek didn't understand that the employees were sabotaging his orders because alternative milk supplies are quickly running out. He wanted to get himself a knocker, so he hired this new guy. This knocker ignored the client's request and used regular milk. As a result, the client had the strongest allergic attack, and now he threatens to sue the restaurant. I learned about all this from my father. He called me in the evening on the day of the incident and told me everything. It was obvious that he was in panic. He said that he fired Derek as soon as he found out what he was doing behind his back, and now he wants me to come back and take the position that I originally wanted. It was just absurd. Now, when my brother ruined everything, my father suddenly changed his mind. What I predicted happened, and now he asked me to come back? I was still angry and offended after everything that happened a month ago, so when I heard this, I just laughed. Then I told my father that I would never come back, and if he really wants me to come back, then let him publicly apologize to me, to all the employees and the family, just as he publicly humiliated me at the party. Let him admit his mistake, announce the dismissal of Derek, and officially appoint me for the position. I do not think that I demand something unimaginable. What he did then was simply unacceptable, and I have every right to demand that my father corrects the situation. Now my father needs me, and let him prove that he realized his mistake. But my mother thinks that I am exaggerating, and even my father himself told me that he would never do this. During the call, he said that the restaurant belongs to me just like he does, and that, yes, he may have made a mistake, but my demand for a public apology is too much. It is humiliating. Well, he wants me to come back after choosing Derek instead of me? Then let him politely ask me about it. Update 1. Hello everyone. First of all, I want to thank everyone who left comments under my previous post, gave advice and supported. This really means a lot to me, to know that you do not care about my situation. Thank you very much. Now to what I decided. I took a few days to think and made a decision. I'm going back to business. It was not easy, because I had to step on my pride, but in the end, I gave this business 5 years of my life. And whatever happens, I can't change the fact that I want to manage this business. I don't want it to just fall apart, because I understand perfectly well that my father is immortal. Charles, as I said, is not interested in Derek's restaurant, obviously not capable of anything at all, especially in business management, so I'm the only one left. There are no other options. I also talked to my uncle and cousin, who run the other 2 restaurants, and they also think that I need to come back. They are sure that this restaurant is mine by right, and if my father himself asks me to return, it means that I should leave the past grudges and take the situation into my own hands. I love this restaurant, and I don't want to see it fall apart. It's simple. To be honest, I would like my father to apologize to me publicly, but I don't want to make a show out of it and be angry, proving that I was right about Derek. This will not bring me any pleasure compared to the joy that the success of our restaurant will bring. This time, I decided to let the situation go. It's in my best interests. This morning, I talked to my father. It was an extremely formal and calm conversation. We decided to leave the differences in the past and discuss them later, because now our main task is to solve the current crisis. We agreed to meet with our lawyers and the client who suffered because of Derek. We need to come to an unconstitutional settlement of the conflict, because she actively writes about us on social networks. So far, we are lucky. Her posts have not gained much popularity, but this can change at any time. We need to leave this scandal until it turns into something more serious. Update 2. Yesterday, for the first time in a long time, I met with my father in person. We met before the negotiations with the client and discussed all the details with our lawyer. It was strange to see him after so many weeks of separation, because before that, I saw him literally every day for 5 years. I didn't even realize how much I missed him until I saw him again. We hardly talked, because most of the time the lawyer was speaking, and we had to listen to him carefully. But I felt that there was a lot of unspoken between us, although now was not the time to discuss it. My father never apologized for what happened a month ago and did not touch this topic, but the atmosphere between us was polite and even a little warm. It was our first meeting after that big fight, and I expected it to be awkward, but fortunately, this did not happen. After the meeting, he invited me home to see my mother, because since that very bad evening, I haven't seen her either. But I refused, since I already had plans. I was invited to a friend's engagement. By the way, I asked my father if Derek still lives with him. It turned out that no. I was interested in what exactly happened and where he went, but my father clearly did not want to discuss it, so I did not press. Later, I asked Charles if he knew anything. He said that Derek left a few days after his dismissal, but it is not known whether it was his own decision or his parents' decision. So while this issue remains open, I will definitely find out from my father what really happened. As for the meeting with the client, everything went pretty well. I expected it to be more difficult because the situation is really serious, a violation of many ethical norms. This would not have happened if the restaurant was headed by my father or me. However, the client turned out to be reasonable. She explained that the only reason why she threatened the court and so actively complained in social networks is not the incident itself, but how the manager treated her. Instead of admitting the mistake, he accused her of allegedly not warning about his allergy and did not clarify that he wants soy milk. This is what drove her out of herself. We finally realized what an idiot Derek was when we learned all the details. Before that, the client refused to discuss the issue without her lawyer. In her posts on social networks, she hinted at how they got along with her, but did not go into detail because she was afraid of retaliation. In the end, it was just her word against Derek's words. And this moron also tried to scare her, wrote that she had to delete the posts because he allegedly lied and threatened the court, so she could not reveal all the details. My father and I could not understand the whole picture because the waiter who accepted orders was afraid to lose his job and supported Derek's version. I do not blame him. People stick to their job and sometimes they have to cover their bosses. The new employee hired by Derek naturally also stood on his side. He insisted that the waiter did not say anything about soy milk, which means that the client is to blame, who allegedly wants to get rich on the scandal. As a result, we explained to the client that the culprit was already fired and now the management is in other hands. We assured her that this would not happen again. Thank God, we managed to reach an agreement on pre-trial settlement. She promised to delete her posts and close this issue. We lost a decent amount of money, but at least now the problem created by Derek is eliminated. Now my father and I can breathe a little. Update 3. A month has passed since I returned to the restaurant, and, to be honest, I have never been happier. It took me time to realize how unhappy I was without a job here. Yes, I had disagreements with my father, but this restaurant is my life, and I want to develop it further, and I will do it. As for my father, we are trying to improve our relationship, and we already have significant progress. I again began to communicate closely with my parents, and we decided that as a family, we should spend much more time together. A couple of weeks ago, I talked to my father, and he admitted that he and my mother regret how they treated me and Charles. They always knew that Derek is a weak link in our family and just tried to pull him up to our level so that he would not feel worse. But in the end, they only inflated his ego to such an extent that he imagined himself to be someone great without even really trying to achieve something. Therefore, his dismissal was a blow to him because of his selfishness, and he decided to leave. Since then, he has not communicated with anyone in the family. But my father, through acquaintances, found out that Derek lives with a friend and works in a local video game store. At least he is doing something, and this is already not bad. Every week our family gathers for dinner, including Charles and his wife. Derek was also invited several times because it would be rude not to invite him, but he does not answer. This is his choice, and it does not really bother me. I wish him good luck, but I don't want to have anything in common with him. The time spent with the family has been beneficial for me, and I am finally improving my relationship with my father. I like it. Recently, life has really improved, and I have nothing to complain about. I am again doing what I love and building what I believe in. I don't think I could ask for anything more, and most importantly, I am again in good relations with my family. It seems that this is all I need for happiness. So, this is the end of the story. Be sure to write in the comments what you think about it. It is not clear at all what my father was counting on, to be honest, because my son had no work experience at all, as far as I understand, and even more so in the restaurant business, where you need to be able to do something, and accordingly. I do not understand how it was possible not to spoil the process. And I also think that it was in vain that the author asked her father to publicly apologize to her in front of all the employees, in front of the family. Why? Well, he really humiliated her. Yes, I agree, but it would be enough for a personal apology, from eye to eye. But just publicly. After all, my father is a respected person among the employees and in the family, so I think that he would hardly agree to this. And why should he be accused of some kind of humiliation? To admit his mistake? That he screwed up with this son, with his decision. Okay, and the fact that the new manager, her reputation was damaged, is it okay? Why is it okay? The father is already going to the sunset. Well, okay. And the new blood was damaged. Well, maybe she was damaged, but everyone would have understood everything anyway. It seems to me that the father appointed her manager again because he made his mistake, admitted his mistake. So to ask him to humiliate himself publicly, it seemed to me that it was clear that he would not do it. Well, such people who run a business all their lives, they are usually very greedy, it seems to me. Well, maybe, but again, Maybe it would be some kind of insurance from future such skirmishes, when he again decides that he needs to appoint his son again. The insurance from future, as you said, skirmishes would be if he officially re-registered this business on her, or at least a share in the business, then it would be insurance. I believe that if he personally apologized to her, especially since she herself was burning with the desire to return, then this would be enough. It seems to me that this is more of a family matter than, well, maybe, in principle, we do not know whether he did it or not. Apparently he did not. Thank you for watching this video to the end. Watch our previous video, which you will see here, and good luck to you.